I think I'm not going to surprise anyone if I say we'll look at Oman, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Morocco, probably a couple of others. I have a gut feeling that we will have a surprise. It doesn't have to be from the Arab world. I think a big Muslim country, I have an indication the big Muslim country, not an Arab one, might even join this cacophony of voices, but definitely, I think those are the main countries.
You're insinuating an Arab country, and
I also think that a large non-Arab
Muslim country in Southeast Asia, or
something like that.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I'm just getting indications that could happen. But even if not, if we get like something like Sudan, enormous big country, and then you have. Look, just think about Sudan, the size of it, the importance of it, and then how much they need this relationship, first of all, to be removed from the list of terror sponsors, which they really don't deserve to be on this. They had a bad regime, and it's over, thank God. And they have problems that Israel can help with, between things that have to do with the Nile and the large dam that the Ethiopians are building. So if Israel can build this access from Egypt to Sudan to Ethiopia, Eritrea, and so on, and maybe other couple countries there that we don't think that we exist in, you have, and then Saudi Arabia on the other side, then our presence in the Red Sea is going to be amazing. And that is, if we think about this, in the end of the day, the Middle East is two things. It's passages and energy.
Okay.
And having that kind of access is amazing.
Brigadier General Michal, Herzog, what about the Palestinians?
Well, that's a big question, because the Palestinians are left out. They feel left out. And the question is what to do about the Palestinians. Obviously, they object to this development because they feel that the veto power they had over our decision-making on Israeli affairs was taken away. But I don't think that they have a response to what's happening right now. It's the same old talking points we've heard, victimizing themselves and so on, and without doing anything practical. They could re-engage the Americans, they could re-engage the Arabs, they could resume coordination with Israel.
They could re-engage the Arabs, but wouldn't necessarily get the backing of the Arab League as they did so far.
They tried to get the Arab League to ban normalization, and they failed. So there's not very much left for them, but they could certainly re-engage the Americans. They, at the time, cut coordination with Israel because of annexation. Now that annexation is off the table, they should resume coordination with Israel, take the funds that Israel collects on their behalf. There's a lot of things that they could do. I think for us in Israel, we have to ask ourselves what we want to do about the Palestinians. There is a mindset there that says, let's focus on the Arabs and forget about the Palestinians, and later they will come around. I think that's a mistake. We should not ignore them. I'm not talking about the peace process right now. I don't think it's in the cards. I don't think the leaderships are up to it. But I'm talking about paying attention, stabilizing the scene, both in the West Bank and Gaza. There's a very dangerous situation. The PA is weak, dysfunctional, weak economically and politically. Gaza is on the verge of collapse now also because of COVID. We should not ignore the Palestinians. And the bottom line, I think, there's also an opportunity in Israeli-Arab normalization, because that could open space to both Israelis and Palestinians in their own relations, and that's the approach we should take.
Member of Parliament Michal Cotler-Wunsh, is it about opening space for more opportunity with the Palestinians, or is it about putting pressure on the Palestinians? They thought they had the backing of the Arab world, and now they're seeing some of the Arab world is turning their back at them, or at least telling them you're not first priority anymore.
So I just want to pick up on this last sentence and say this. You know, if you really look at this, and the possibility for a paradigmal shift here is in the transition from rejectionism, the three no's, to yes. Yes, peace. Yes, negotiation. And yes, recognition of the State of Israel. And I think that's a fundamental understanding that we need to have in terms of the potential to really see through this paradigm shift. I think including the rockets fired tonight. I think that the understanding that Israel has the right, the legitimacy to exist as a Jewish and democratic state alongside whatever state will be formed in the future with the Palestinian people. And I would differentiate the Palestinian people from its leadership that has thus far been a rejectionist leadership, unfortunately. But the way forward that I connect to, that I think that this agreement actually paves and lights the way, if there is both we are listening, but also the Palestinian people are listening, then there is a real fundamental understanding that in order to advance prosperity and peace with the Palestinians, there needs to be a recognition of the right of the State of Israel to exist. It's very basic, and it comes across in this agreement. And I think that addresses the need for us to be able to move forward and say, in order to free the Palestinian people from the reign of terror, because when you see the responses of different regimes, whether it's Iran or any regimes that are terror regimes, then you see the realignment. And those are the tectonic shifts that I think that we're referring to that hold the greatest potential for this.
Okay.